Few cars in American history carry a reputation as controversial as the Ford Pinto. Launched in 1970, it was nothing more than a cheap subcompact designed to compete with the growing wave of imported cars taking over the market. Its price was incredibly affordable, just $1,900, and its purpose was simple, a basic car for people who needed to get around on a budget. But no one looked at a Pinto and saw a sports car. It wasn't fast, it didn't have an impressive design, and it definitely didn't make enthusiast hearts race. It was just a means of transportation, or at least that's what everyone thought. That was until Jack Stratton came along, a man who saw beyond the obvious. While most people saw a dull compact, he saw hidden potential. He knew he would never turn the Pinto into a muscle car that could tear up the asphalt. But what if, with a few modifications, he could transform it into something far greater than anyone imagined? That idea led to the creation of one of the rarest and most improbable sleepers ever built in the United States, the Ford Pinto Pangra. But to understand how a simple economy car became capable of humiliating even Porsches, we first need to take a closer look at the mind behind this transformation. Jack Stratton wasn't a Ford engineer, nor was he a race car driver. He was the sales manager at Huntington Ford, a dealership in California. But don't be mistaken, he wasn't just another car salesman. Stratton was a visionary, a true performance enthusiast, someone who saw opportunities where no one else was looking. In the 1970s, muscle cars were losing their dominance. Insurance costs were skyrocketing, new emissions laws were choking V8 engines, and the golden era of big American motors was fading away. But instead of lamenting this shift, Stratton saw it as a new opportunity. If V8s were being restricted, perhaps the key was to focus on smaller, lighter, and more efficient cars. And that's when the Pinto caught his attention. It was lightweight, far lighter than any other American car of the time. Its compact size could make it incredibly agile. If equipped properly, it could surprise much more expensive sports cars. Stratton had a clear goal: to turn the Pinto into a worthy rival for the era's sporty imports. But to do that, he needed to change a lot more than just the engine. The first step? Completely transforming its appearance. For the Pinto Pangra to be taken seriously, it had to stop looking like a grocery getter. No one would buy a sports car that still looked like a budget commuter. The first major change had to be visual. Stratton knew that the Pinto's original design didn't convey speed, aggression, or anything remotely sporty. So he reached out to a fiberglass specialist named Bob Crow with a bold request: to give the Pinto an entirely new front end. The result was stunning. The stock front was completely scrapped and replaced with a sleek, aerodynamically aggressive design. The new front end featured manually operated pop-up headlights, slimmer fenders, and a shape that resembled a Corvette more than a basic compact. The car was now nearly 10 inches longer, finally looking like a true performance machine. With this new identity, the Pinto Pangra finally looked like a car that commanded respect. But looks alone weren't enough. It needed real speed to back it up. The next step? Making sure it could handle corners like a true sports car. Now that the Pinto Pangra had the looks of a true sports car, it was time to make sure it drove like one. And for that, the Pinto's original suspension, designed purely for comfort and economy, had to be completely reworked. Stratton knew that adding power alone wouldn't be enough. To compete with respected sports cars like the Datsun 240Z and the Porsche 914, the car needed precision in the corners. So he partnered with Koni, one of the top suspension specialists of the era, to develop a high-performance handling package. The new setup included recalibrated shock absorbers for firmer control, a 2-inch drop for a lower center of gravity, wider magnesium wheels to improve grip, a revised suspension geometry, making the car much more responsive. The numbers didn't lie. Period tests showed that the Pangra could generate 0.87 G of lateral grip, outperforming the Porsche 914 and Datsun 240Z, both of which hovered around 0.73 G. It was official. The Pinto Pangra could go head-to-head with European sports cars without fear. But it was still missing the key ingredient: power. And Stratton had an audacious plan to fix that. Now that the Pinto Pangra had an aggressive look and a refined suspension, it was time for the final touch: Real power. The Pinto's stock engine was a modest 2.0-liter four-cylinder, designed for efficiency rather than performance. With just 90 horsepower, it was nowhere near threatening a true sports car. But Stratton knew there was a way to extract much more power from this engine without ruining the car's balance. The solution? Turbocharging. To make it happen, he teamed up with A.K. Miller, one of the top turbocharging experts of the 1970s. Together, they developed a system that doubled the engine's output, pushing it to an impressive 175 horsepower, a huge leap for such a lightweight car. The secret was the Air Research Turbocharger, which worked alongside a dual-barrel carburetor, boosting the engine to 10 psi of pressure. But that wasn't all. The compression ratio was lowered to 7:1, making the engine more reliable under high boost. A water injection system was added to help control engine temperatures. The setup was tuned to maintain efficiency and meet emissions regulations, something most turbo builds of the era struggled with. The result? The Pinto Pangra could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 7.5 seconds, leaving behind cars like the Datsun 240Z and Porsche 914. In the quarter mile, it crossed the finish line in the low 15-second range, an impressive time for a compact car of its era. What was once just a basic economy car had now become a sleeper capable of humiliating much more expensive sports cars. But there was one final detail that made the Pangra even more special: how it was sold. With the Pinto Pangra ready to challenge well-known sports cars, only one question remained: how to sell it. Stratton and Huntington Ford decided to take an innovative sales approach. Instead of just offering the car as a fully built model, they gave customers multiple purchasing options. Full Pangra package. Buyers could purchase a fully modified Pinto Pangra directly from the dealership, featuring all the bodywork, suspension, and engine upgrades, plus an exclusive dashboard and Recaro sports seats. The price, $5,000. A steep price for a Pinto, but an absolute bargain for a sleeper that could leave Porsches in the dust. Modification kits. If you already owned a Pinto, you could buy the upgrades separately and build your own Pangra. 3 kits were available. Kit 1, just the redesigned bodywork, including the new front end and pop-up headlights for $600. Kit 2, the full suspension package featuring lowered springs, Coney shocks, and stabilizer bars for $1,100. Kit 3, the complete turbo system with all the components needed to boost the engine for $691. This approach allowed customers to customize their level of modification according to their budget. However, there was one exclusive touch. The custom dashboard was only available on factory-built Pangras, ensuring that cars assembled at the dealership had a unique and premium distinction. Despite all its potential, the Pinto Pangra never became a commercial success. Estimates suggest that only 20 to 50 fully built units were ever sold, along with a few dozen upgrade kits. Today, it has become a true rarity. Very few examples have survived, and spotting one at a car show is almost like discovering a hidden treasure. So the next time you see a strange-looking Pinto at a classic car event, take a closer look. It might just be a Pangra, one of the most unlikely sleepers in automotive history, created by a visionary who dared to challenge the industry's giants. Now tell me, had you ever heard of the Pinto Pangra before this video? If this story surprised you, drop a comment below. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep bringing you more amazing stories from the automotive world. See you in the next video.